Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Earhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So today we have Aliki, and I can't wait for her to share about what she does and share her story. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey there. I'm excited to be here. I think we're going to have a really
Yes.
great conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope your audience gets something really powerful from the conversation. But a little bit about me. Why should anyone listen to our conversation? I'm Aliki Samone, and I'm here today because I am an author. I'm the author of Conquer Your Summit: How to Build a 5-Year Plan and Live Your Best Life. But I'm not just an author. I got to this point of wanting to talk about this subject with you because I'm an author, a musician, an artist. I do murals. I'm also, a project manager, an entrepreneur. I've worked in tech industry for the last 10 years. I studied aerospace engineering. So I am kind of all
Wow.
over the map in life when it comes to the right brain, left brain kind of analytical to creative side. And with that, I am someone who my whole life, I just kind of like strive for what's that next thing? What's big goals, big dreams, things I'd love to become or accomplish or help others become and accomplish. And I needed a method. I needed something that was going to help me through the spiral, being in my
Yeah.
early 20s, figure out what I was going to do. And over the last 10 years, I've honed and crafted what I call now the Summit Method. And that is what I've now written a couple books on. I have some workbooks, and I'm here today to talk about the Summit Method, which is basically a 3-step strategy to better yourself in self, wealth, and community. How we grow to become more fulfilled.
I love that. Well, I definitely know that I need to order your books because this sounds really awesome. Can you share with the audience, like, what is step one, step two, and step three usually in your program?
Absolutely. So, what's really important in any kind of process is breaking things down. We all get
Hmm.
overwhelmed
Oh,
in
yeah.
everything we do in life, right?
Yep.
So, I break it down in 3 steps: mental tools. You have to establish strong mindset, mental tools to get through any kind of process, whether it's life planning, which is what I'm, helping people with, or, just dealing with cleaning your house sometimes, right? You gotta like have the mental energy. So helping develop mental tools is number one. Number two is planning techniques. Because once you have a strong mental ability to move forward and go into conquering things like planning your life or trying to, map out your dreams, you should have a
Hmm.
plan to do that. Whether it's my method or someone else's, what I go over is an actual step by step technique on how you write out your current state, how you craft a big goal, how you break that down into smaller steps so you can get to like a 1 year action plan. And what are you doing this quarter? And I have just a way to kind of break that up because we often see this big mountain of life and it's a lot. So
Oh, yeah.
planning techniques is number two. Then we move to the third and final step, which is execution habits. Because you can have all of the most incredible mental strength and power, and you can have the most beautifully written plan. But if you do not execute, if you do not do the work, if you don't go out and put sticky notes up on your mirror and remind yourself on, what are you striving for, you're you're either not going to get there or it's going to be a really tough battle. So I teach that you
Yep.
have to embed in your life these execution based habits, these ways of checking in with the data and reviewing your plan. You don't just go and you create a plan and set it on the desk and expect it to come to fruition. You have to execute. So, in summary, the 3 steps in their high level, of course, there's plenty of details underneath them to help you
Yep.
actually do them, but you need mental tools, planning techniques, and execution habits.
I love that because, like, when I work with my clients, it doesn't matter where they're at in their journey. It all starts with mindset, improving the mindset, looking at the positive. That's like the first thing that we always go over. And then having a plan and basically scheduling what you're going to do. And then your third thing, which is to remind yourself daily of your goals. So, like one thing that I like to do is write my goals at least in the morning, sometimes in the morning and at night, because then it reminds you why you're working so hard towards a better future.
Absolutely. Exactly. I love it.
Hmm.
You're aligned.
Thank you.
You're already doing these great things. Of course you are. You've
Y-
got
Yeah.
this killer podcast and doing great things.
Well, and that's what's cool is I know that your system works. Like it works. Three-step system, it works. I can tell you that myself. So it's really cool that you also do that, you know?
Absolutely. And I think what I want to add, a little flair here, would be I also, I take those 3 steps to success, but I focus them around these 4 core principles, which are you have to have the 4 pillars of life. You have to make the mental tools, planning techniques, and execution habits around your personal growth, your financial situation, or getting to financial freedom, whatever that might mean for an individual, your career, what you do with your time, in exchange for money that feeds those finances, and then community. And these 4 items make you a whole person that can become as strong as possible, you know, by making sure you understand what you want for personal growth. Is that education? Is
Yep.
it spiritual? Is it, or travel? Are you trying to grow skills? Know you as a person, self care, all of that, so that you're strong enough to get to that point of community with your friends, your family, extended societal connections, whether you're in a club or, a church or some sort of organization. People are so important. And I
Mhm.
feel that so many of us forget to make actual plans to think about mindset, planning, and execution around personal growth, financial, career, and community items. So that's kind of where my method funnels, the summit method funnels down into those 4 areas, trying to walk you through how to get there.
That's amazing. And one thing that you touched on, or something that you said reminded me of this is figure out who you are and figure out what you want to do. Oftentimes that's, well, usually the first step in the journey to self development, self improvement, whatever you want to call it, is figure out, am I being me? Or am I basically wearing somebody else's shirt that I was given when I was a child? Because that happens a lot. Like, our parents say something or tell us we can't do something, and we just take that with us, and we don't explore what we actually want to do. And that holds a lot of people back, and it's sad. And I always help, the people that I encounter, and you'll see it on my social media. Let's break out and figure out who we are and figure out what we want to be and who we want to become. Because for me, I lived for like 29, 30 years of not being myself. And once I broke out and realized who I wanted to be, my whole life improved, 10,000 times over because I could just be myself. And with that, you are going to lose some friends, but you are going to gain so many more. And you talk about community. I love networking, meeting new people, making new friends. And I feel like networking is like the secret key to a better life that nobody really talks about a whole lot, you know?
I love what you just said because, I think networking has this connotation of being business. Like if you're
It
in
does. Hmm.
business or you run a business or you're in, sales and marketing, you go to networking events. But if we can kind of flip the script for everyone out there and say, it's about building community. whether or not
Uh-huh.
that's finding more people in your life to go meet up and have coffee with,
Yep.
or having people to meet up with that, are a book club or whatever it might be. You're right. It's so important for many of us to kind of get out of maybe some of the shells that the quote
Mhm.
word networking has given us and reach out. I actually recently, to give a pointed example to anyone out there, I went on Meetup, which is a website that, anyone can go on, and there's lots of different groups out there you can join, both physical or, virtual, depending on where you live. And you just join a group that's doing things that you like to do. And I thought, I really enjoy kind of dressing up and kind of going out and having fun, but, a lot of times people don't really dress up that much anymore, right? I wanna put on some
Yep.
pearls and have a good time. And
Mhm.
I went on and I made a group. I made a new group called, Women Who Wanna Dress Up and, go out for whatever, dinner or
Mhm.
whatever it might be. And I just put it out in the universe. And within 30 days, I've had over 30 people find this group on Meetup and sign up. And I schedule and I make events. So that's a point where I created networking. I am
Mhm.
actively going out and seeking community, meeting new
Mhm.
people, and that experience is enlightening. It's enlightening to my personal growth. And I encourage anyone out
Yep.
there to take the leap to either, join a group of something you like to do or start one if you feel like there's not
Mhm.
something that is out there that's yours. And my eyes have been opened to new perspectives of different types of people that I don't normally run into in my lines of work or, my areas where I'm focused. So definitely, I love that. Networking needs to become a word we can use more often and mean not business.
Yeah, exactly, and I like what you're doing, and you get gave me an idea. I'm gonna go and do the same thing now. But, I wanna pivot to the business side of that, since everybody likes to think networking is business. But if you're a business owner, I see a lot of business owners, they go out and network for the sole purpose of gaining a client. That's not what I do when I network. I network to meet people, see how we can collaborate, learn about what they do, because I like to refer people. So if you're out networking and you meet someone, they can send you 5 referrals for your business just within a week. Like it shouldn't be always about business. Like let's just meet, chat, get to know each other, and maybe down the road we get clients out of it. But it shouldn't be the sole purpose of networking.
Totally agree. It's about helping people. And
Exactly.
those people should be more than yourself, like you're
Yeah.
saying. That's kind of part of my life purpose. And I teach people how to come up with a life purpose statement in my book, and
Ooh,
how you take those statements and you can put them up on a piece of paper, mirror in your bathroom or
I've
wherever you're
got
going to
some
see them
around
every
my
day.
house.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
And you live by them. And I have multiple. You don't have to have one life purpose statement. You can have them for different subjects. And one of mine is helping people uh, in its simplistic form, but the written out one has more information. For the sake of this conversation, that's what networking should be about. Is I go out, and if I
Exactly.
can help others or refer, what they're trying to do, in the end, the life circle of communications and talking to people will come back to you if it makes sense. You'll get the right kind of clients, and people will want to work with you because you are a good person, and you're also trying to help the world. So I love that.
Hmm.
You're
Well,
giving
and
me good ideas.
good. And as business owners, like that should be your number one priority, helping people. It should not be about money. Like, yes, you want to start a business to become financially free, however that looks for everybody. But the number one thing is to help others. And that's what, m- basically 99.9% of businesses do. They solve problems for people. But you should you should be passionate about that problem that you're solving and just go out and help people. I help people for free every single day because I know that down the road it will pay for itself. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. They say some of the best ways to build a brand and a business and a following and a growth, if that's what you're focused on, out there in the audience, or just maybe even building your own personal life and your own friends and
Exactly.
your own community, is to give. The more free, value driven work you give, naturally people are going to love that and they're going to want more
Mhm.
from you, to a point where they're going to want to pay for your services, or they're going to want to, invest in you because you have given them so much, because there's now this emotional, friendship, really, if you will, to it. So I think the power of giving is so incredible. And whether it has to do with your business or your personal life, it can only do good things. So
Yep.
let's do more of it.
Let's get back to your
Yeah,
business.
sure.
Who is your ideal client for the people listening? What's the thing where you can go, oh, that's me, you know?
Sure. So, my ideal client, or, really who I'm looking to help serve, are those individuals out there who maybe, I call it spiraling. You can fill in whatever word that is, for you out there, but it means you're in life, whether you're, a young professional, you're just out of college, you're trying to figure out what life is, you've been told, up until high school, here's what you need to do, and you you're supposed to have your whole life figured out at such a young age. And you now spiral. You get to this point where you're like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. How do I go make friends? How do I figure out how to get my finances to a point? You start comparing yourself to either other coworkers, other people in your life, or looking up to mentors and wondering, how do I get there? How do I become the manager? Heck, I want to be a CEO of my own company one day. And you start building these dreams. And some of us, have the skills, or, the people in our life who can support us and be able to make those plans and get there. And a lot of people I work with, they they kind of get to a point where it is overwhelming and they need help breaking down the steps, how to get those mental tools, write down, these planning techniques where every 3 months you're going to check in with this plan. And you are bound to make progress because you're not hiding, behind your fears, and what life brings to you. You are taking it head on by looking at the data, seeing these plans, executing on the tasks, looking at your habits and kind of saying, what am I, what doing? Now that all sounds probably a little scary and hard to some people, but I promise you it's so liberating to have a helping hand come in and say, okay, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you look at your life in these, 4 areas, and see where you want to go and where you want to grow, what you want to fix. We're going to build a plan together, and then you just follow these steps. It's like looking at a mountain peak and starting at the bottom, base of the trail, and being overwhelmed because you have to get to the top. But I like to work with people who are looking for the trail. And I mentioned young professionals, but honestly, we all go through these phases in life.
Yep,
We
we do.
all go through moments of, what am I doing? You end a career after 20 years and you're like, I need to start over. I need to find myself. I need to get to a new area. It's those spiraling, those looking to look at a top, look toward the top of a mountain peak and wonder, how do I get there? Is there an easier way?
Mhm.
Can someone help me break up the steps so that I can take the right trail to the top and make it a
Yep.
little easier as I go? So
Yeah.
that is what I look for, is individuals who are trying to really kind of map out where they want to go in a way that is easier to digest.
Awesome. Well, I love what you do because I know, from my own experience that this isn't something that's easy to do alone. You need that outside person to help guide you and ask you the right questions and actually hold you accountable to what you say you're going to do to get you to your goals. So I feel like that's a lot of what you do is help people stay accountable. Yeah,
It's funny you say that, and I love that you brought up the word accountable because that's I tell I'm your accountability partner. You know, maybe some people
exactly.
already have an accountability partner, and actually in my book, I talk a lot about make sure you get an accountability partner. But if
Yeah.
you don't have one, I am your project manager. I am your accountability partner, and all I want is for you to succeed. I want you to create your plan and drive your destiny to get to where you want to go. And the only thing,
True.
blocking you right now, right, in this moment today is sitting down and taking the time. The self-care is setting a time in your calendar and thinking about what you want and then architecting what are the steps to get there. And if you need help with that, that's something that I like to do.
This episode of the Infinite Abilities podcast is brought to you by the one and only Infinite Toolbox, where just like all other toolboxes, we will get the job done, guaranteed. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to save time, boost revenue, or automate your processes, Infinite Toolbox has got you covered. With powerful tools designed to drive leads, expand your reach, and gain your industry secrets, we help you work smarter, not harder. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Visit us at infinitetoolbox.com. That's infinitetoolbox.com and discover how infinite your potential really is. Yeah, I like that. And I feel like there's like three types of accountability partners. There's the kind that you can help, like, or sorry, the kind you can hire, like me and you, where we know what we're doing, we're professionals. And then there's, you can, have your best friend be your accountability partner. Sometimes that doesn't go very good because you're too close to that person. And then the third type is if you really want an accountability partner that will hold you accountable, have somebody that you don't really enjoy and tell them, hey, every time that I don't do this, I give you 10 bucks. Guess what? You're going to get your stuff done. I heard that on a podcast. I thought it was really great.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's,
Yeah.
I'm usually trying to go for the positive reinforcements, but heck, sometimes,
Yeah.
you need a good pay your enemy, I
If you need a,
guess.
yeah, if you need that extra kick in the butt, just talk to someone that you don't really care for. So, awesome. All right. Well, I do want to ask you before we wrap this up. My slogan is "Your abilities are infinite." What does that mean to you?
Absolutely. I love this slogan, and it's something that I like to think of as an affirmation, right? So close your eyes and, say it out loud and think about how it fuels you. And because in your mind, it's an infinite sandbox, right? We can be anything. You can imagine, uh, you know, I can imagine myself walking on the moon and becoming an astronaut or something like that in my mind. So take this as an affirmation to close your eyes and say out loud and know that these infinite abilities is this mental mindset. It's something that we can push aside barriers for that moment and say, what are our dreams? And visualize them and see them. And then as it pairs to kind of what I do, the infinite abilities is your ability to make that dream, to have that visualization, to open your mind and build that sandbox, but then take it out of your mind on the paper, make the plan, do some execution. And then the next thing you know, these, perceived barriers that are created in the world can melt away when you think about your infinite abilities and then get to your final state, your dreams, your, you know, beautiful success, whatever that means for you. And it all starts with just closing your eyes and having some beautiful mental thoughts.
love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. And how can everybody reach out and find you?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I am Aliki Samone, and you can find me on my website at www.conqueryoursummit.com. And if you go there, my book is there. You can contact me, socials, pretty much everything you need will be at that website. And I'd love to hear from you, or just give me a follow and so we'll work together and see how the journey goes for you.
That's so awesome. Thank you. And what is one last message that you would like to leave the audience?
Okay. I would like to leave the audience with today. Take a moment, close your eyes, pause, and ask yourself, what does my mind feel like? What does my body feel like? What does my spirit feel like? And I call this a mind, body, spirit exercise. And you can use it when you are frustrated, sad, lonely, upset, or happy, or just daily. It's a point of creating gratitude. So I'm going to leave you today to say if you really want to better your life in one small step, learn how to insert a method to experience gratitude every day. And I do that by saying, oh, how does my mind feel right now? And maybe it's racing or maybe it's excited, but I think and I allow myself to understand those thoughts. I allow myself to, think about how I feel, whether it's I feel healthy and I celebrate my health in that given day, or I've got, my ankle hurts because I sprained it yesterday or whatever it might be. You note that. You note some of your pains. You think about your health in that moment and how maybe you want to do better, but you think about it. And lastly, your spirit, because that is this beautiful connection between the mind and the heart and what's driving us forward. And you can just let your limitless, you know, abilities go, how do I feel? What is my spirit telling me? So that's how I like to have gratitude. And then, of course, putting thankfulness in there. But yeah, so I leave you all today with if you do nothing else, put gratitude into your life. And I promise you, things will start sparking in magical ways.
It will. I know that. All right, Elikai, this was really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me in the Nicky Heart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember your abilities are infinite.